Hello, my name is Chris Selalrds, and for approximately the next 15 minutes, I'm going to be reading an excerpt from my book, Forbidden Magic and Forgotten Demons. This is my first book reading, so bear with me if I stumble through some of the parts here. This is a story about a human colony located on the outskirts of the galaxy. When Earth made contact with its first alien race, the encounter didn't go so well. It resulted in a war that Earth wasn't sure it could win. As the war progressed, a splinter group decided to leave Earth to form their own colony. That colony was based on magic, not technology. They believed magic was a solution to close the gap between Earth's technology and the advanced technology of the aliens. We'll start with the prologue. Located in an isolated solar system on the far reaches of the Milky Way, Mercury was to be mankind's salvation if the Qatari ever discovered the location of Earth. Mercury was colonized specifically to accelerate the genetic evolution of those bloodlines known to possess the trait called magic. Magic could manifest in any human, but once a family was blessed, the trait was hereditary and could be genetically cultivated. The planet Mercury had 3 habitable continents. The one colonized by the humans was named Neoterra. As the human population grew and the natural resources replaced the ones brought from Earth, the main colony separated into 4 research districts. Each district created its own cultural, educational, and research capabilities as it worked to make life on this new world sustainable. The development of magic was primarily the objective of the colonists and achieved its greatest success at the Northern Academy of Raythorn. With limited technology available, magic helped ease the difficulties of surviving. But even with the best of intentions, people could not overcome their basic passions, desires, and egos. With the continued evolution of magic, the fixation on power and control also evolved. It took less than 100 years before the fight for survival succumbed to the desire for more advanced magic. At the height of research and development, a group of magicians from Raythorn rebelled and overthrew the local government. To achieve their objectives, the rogue magicians used forbidden magic to locate and enslave denizens from the world of Qatari, then launched an attack on the rest of the colony. Under the guise of a war, magicians roamed Neoterra, intending to destroy all remaining technology and advanced knowledge from the original research colony. Their goal was to erase their history and the ties to the people on Earth. They wanted to create a future based on the desires of the current population, not some hidden machinations from a world they never knew. The War of the Mages sent science and technology as well as magic back several hundred years. As a colonized planet, the flora and fauna brought from Earth vied with the ones organic to Mercury. Thanks to the reckless destruction of the mages, Neoterra was in constant danger of being overrun by the naturally evolving plant and animal life. The surviving humans had to learn to adapt to their new world or be devoured by it. Without the technical capability to support the colony's infrastructure, social and industrial development steadily declined. Neoterra deteriorated into a basic agricultural society with advanced industrialization a fading memory. As technology continued to collapse, so did the knowledge to use and maintain it. The people who survived the war did what they could to rebuild their society and continue their lives. Valuable knowledge had been destroyed, and the survivors were forced to create ruthlessly imposed laws on the teaching and use of magic. Unfortunately, survival also depended on the very magic that had almost annihilated them. They had lost so much technology that magic was the only solution remaining to prevent starvation and a lack of resources from leading to another war. City-states evolved where the academies once stood, dividing the colonists even further. Eventually, localized consolidation was the only option, and small-scale wars led to more bloodshed and destruction. As a result of the consolidation, Neoterra developed 4 independent countries, each with their own opinions on magic and how to navigate the future. Because the war began in the northern country of Ashthorn, it suffered the most destruction. Their surviving leadership isolated Raythorn from the rest of the continent and closed its borders. Fearing a repeat of the past, its leaders focused on science and technology, restricting magic to essential use only. Agriculture and animal husbandry were the major topics of study until enough economic stability was achieved to pursue advancements in pre-industrial technology. Now, 300 years later, Neoterra was again under threat. Not all technology was destroyed in the First War of the Mages, nor was all forbidden knowledge entirely lost. Power was not new to the humans, and as the past proved, magic was intoxicating and gave those desiring power new ways to get what they wanted. Another war was coming, and this time the demons of Qatari would not come as slaves to the mages. They would bring their weapons and their technology with them. They were coming to conquer. Chapter 1, An Unwanted Quest. Jaden sat in his seat in the General Assembly, calmly waiting for the adjutant to summon him. The council existed to protect the balance of magic and Kendrick, but in Jaden's opinion, they often ignored problems unless it was an obvious challenge or a direct threat to their own power. Several students have gone missing from the academy, and no one seemed to care but Jaden. Counselor, your presence is requested in chamber. Jaden's actions had set in motion a series of events that not only caught the council's attention, but landed him smack dab in the middle of council politics. His decision to send a hunter to chase down Jacob was the right one, even if he pissed off the senior leadership and embarrassed the council. He would accept the consequences of his decisions. What's the worst they could do? After all, somebody had to find out where these mages were going and why. Now, the adjutant's voice rang out, interrupting Jaden's attempt to bolster his confidence. Two distinct chambers were used for the council's meeting. The one for public meetings was open, ornate, and built to hold the full membership. The General Assembly Hall was designed to impress both the noble and the commoner. It also emphasized the power of the governing mages. As Jaden rose from his high back seat, he looked around the chamber and was reminded of just how much power the mages wielded. Well, here I go again. Even though no one else was present, he walked with a determined, deliberate pace. He would not hurry. Jaden wanted to project confidence in his decisions and his sense of purpose. It wasn't the first time he had been summoned before the senior council, but if this discussion went badly, he expected it to be his last. As he approached the ornate double doors, the adjutant pulled one open while stepping aside with a slight bow. With a flourish of his arm, he waved Jaden in. His stoic face displayed no emotion. It seldom indicated what mood the council was in. Thanks, James. Wish me luck. At 5'9", Jaden was not an imposing figure. Despite the circumstance, he tried to carry himself with as much dignity as he could muster. Today he wore his robe, marking him as a full council mage. With the hood down, his light brown hair stood in stark contrast to the former black attire. As he walked, the silver markings embedded within the robe pulsed, keeping time with his footsteps. More amused than irritated, he inhaled and took better control of his emotions. The pulsing stopped and resumed their normal steady color. Counselor Jaden, please come in. Selalrds, the senior member of the council, spoke evenly. His voice conveyed a confidence crafted from years of wearing the mantle of leadership. Managing the affairs of the council was difficult in the best of times. His role demanded diplomacy and magic in equal measure. Jaden didn't envy him. Small yet equally ornate, the senior chamber was designed for the more private work of the High Council. The room was almost cozy. A meeting table sat in the middle with the other smaller work tables in different areas. A large fireplace was set into one wall and had several bound and cushioned chairs facing it. All 7 members were present, sitting at the main table, waiting. We have been discussing your actions and what they imply. Frankly, for one of your position to behave as you have is shocking. You are being accused of abuse of power and treason. Astonishing. He spoke the last with a slight inflection, and he tilted his head. Jaden couldn't tell if the gesture was one of approval or one of disbelief. He hoped it indicated his support. Jaden needed an ally right now, even a reluctant one. Counselor Selalrds, I can assure you what I did was out of necessity, not treachery. Kusek, the most fanatical of the counselors, stood up. He didn't tower over the group, but his wiry frame and long arms gave the impression of someone much taller. Dark hair framed an angular face that showed little of his actual age. His gray eyes narrowed as he spoke. You persuaded a magician in training to leave the academy without permission. To cover your actions, you dispatched a hunter to retrieve him. How is that a necessity? Kusek didn't raise his voice. That would be unseemly. But Jaden understood the emphasis on necessity and the undercurrent of anger. High Counselor Kusek, the council has been given inaccurate information in that account. In fact, I did not persuade magician Jacob to leave the academy. He had already made up his mind to leave and did not bother to ask my position. Kusek glared at him. He is not the first. At least 3 others, maybe more, have disappeared in the last 6 months. Not one has returned. As for Jacob, I noted his behavior changing. I suspected a link or pattern between him and the other missing magicians might exist. And did you find one? Selalrds chimed in, regaining control of the conversation before emotion led to further rash outbursts. Yes, High Counselor, I did. All 4 of them have a talent for creating spatial portals. None of them were talented enough to set off any alarms when they went missing. They were not seen as exceptionally talented individuals, and I found they all shared the same opinion of distrust in the ways of the council. Jaden tried to read the room as he continued. Each of them was careful not to draw attention to themselves, and once they mastered the basic concepts to open portals, they disappeared. The hunters sent after them have not returned, not one. When I discovered that Jacob left, I dispatched a hunter to track him and return him here if possible. And you did not think this was important enough to bring to our attention before you took action? Cusack challenged. It was more an accusation than a question. As custom dictates, I notified the Academy that I had dispatched a hunter. The fact that she has not returned may be due to circumstances we do not yet understand. As far as the General Assembly is concerned, the Chief of Protectors has not accounted for the 3 missing hunters in their query either. That is a fact I found worth investigating. The information on the missing students is available to any interested enough to look. Jaden looked hard at Cusack. Yes, that was a barb. The other counselors had remained quiet up to this point. Jaden wasn't surprised. It seemed the discussion was being left to Selalrds and Cusack to work out. Jaden, you have a sense for things others do not. Explain your opinion on the circumstances we do not yet understand. Selalrds was either giving Jaden support or room to hang himself. High Counselor, I believe the 4 missing magicians were recruited for their specific talent. I don't understand why it is important, but more is happening here than we are aware of, and I believe we must take action to find out. Portal magic was thought forgotten and until recently forbidden. Still no reaction from the other counselors. Worst case, someone is recruiting our mages, and our hunters were not only expected to be sent, but they were intentionally lured into an ambush. The hunter I sent may be in greater danger than I realized when I dispatched her. Do you have any actual evidence supporting these claims, or just your feelings? This time, Cusack did not hide his disdain. He certainly did not want to support any notion that someone was working against the council. Only the matter of the talents and missing magicians. Nothing further, Counselor. Jaden remained calm. Even though this would prove to be the pivotal point in the meeting, would the council accept its conclusion and act on it, or would they continue to ignore what was right under their pompous noses? I thought as much. High Counselor Selalrds, with no evidence to prove otherwise, I hold that Counselor Jaden acted without authority. He undermined this council by persuading a young magician to rebel and then dispatched a hunter to cover his treachery. There it was. Selalrds looked around the table at the other counselors. Jaden followed his gaze, but their expressions revealed nothing hinting at what they had already discussed or decided. Counselor Cusack, you have also no evidence to prove Counselor Jaden persuaded anyone to do anything, unless you have some manner of proof you have not shared. Cusack held his gaze but said nothing. His anger radiated waves of unchecked emotion. That barb must have stung, Jaden thought to himself. Addressing the use of a hunter, that is well within his authority. A member of the Academy is obligated to do so if he suspects a student has run away. As far as this council is concerned, until something further presents itself, the matter is closed. The Chief Protector will address the missing hunters. I have been assured it is not unusual for the retrieval of runaway magicians to take some time to accomplish. Selalrds looked at each counselor. All except Cusack nodded in agreement. Counselor Jaden, you are dismissed and cautioned. Do not find yourself here again unless you decide to resign your seat as a member of the General Assembly and pursue other non-magical options. Holding himself steady and showing none of the varied emotions he held in check, Jaden responded, High Counselor, I will take your advice to heart and conduct myself accordingly. With the matter decided, Jaden turned around to leave the room. This time, he was in a hurry. The door opened as Jaden was about to reach for the handle. The adjutant stood to the side waiting. He must have been waiting for the meeting to end and for Jaden to be dismissed. Shrugging, Jaden stepped through. The adjutant closed the door and brushed up against Jaden's arm. He flashed a small piece of paper in his hand. Jaden turned in response to the touch. Excuse me. In my haste, I did not expect you to be waiting by the door. Jaden reached up and placed his hand on the adjutant's arm. As he did so, he reached between them and palmed the piece of paper with his other hand. No one watching would have seen or suspected anything unusual. Jaden turned and headed for the closest door to exit the assembly chambers and find his way back to his own quarters. As soon as he left the main building, he ducked into an alcove and examined the paper. It was a folded note bearing the High Counselor's seal. Crap, this can't be good. He cracked the seal and read. It was a brief note. Yeah, our 15 minutes is up.